Hey guys, so today I want to kind of just go over gameplay. It'll kind of be playing in the background, but I kind of want to start this series to talk about some important points when it comes to playing ranked play, but really more importantly than just ranked play, normal play as well, just improving as a player. Some of the points I'm going to be hitting are pretty much kind of common sense, I guess, in like the Call of Duty world. Of course, like I know it from playing for so long, but if you're newer or, just trying to you watch all the other advanced tips and tricks and, Crimson player, iridescent player, tips and tricks, advanced, pro tips. But how about just like going back to the basics and kind of just learning kind of the foundation of how this game specifically works and especially ranked play. But like I said, could be casual, but just kind of learning how this game plays and kind of the, play style you have to kind of try to adopt to kind of get more comfortable playing and not, feeding your brains out. And so I'll go into 3 tips that will help any player improve. So, tip number 1 is going to be pre-aiming. So, everybody knows pre-aiming, and if you're not familiar with that, it's basically what it sounds like. You aim before you even see anything, right? So, if I'm walking into a room, I'm already pre-aiming before, I even step foot in the room. I'm pre-aiming on the way inside. Now, the reason why this is so important, because the TTK in this Modern Warfare 2 is extremely fast. And you might ask what TTK is if you don't know, and that just means the time to kill. So the reason why you want to pre-aim, because if you're running around and, you're not pre-aiming and others are pre-aiming, you are going to die immediately, every time. I mean, it can take 2 bullets, as low as 2 bullets, but 3, 4, 5 bullets, immediately dead. It doesn't matter the gun. Like, you were just done. So, that being said, there's also, you have to take into account the movement's different. The game style, the game pace is still pretty fast, but there's no slide canceling, there's no bunny hopping. So, it's a lot of running and gunning. But more than that, it's also why people complain so much about how much camping is going on. So people can camp and beat a very good player because the TTK is so fast that sitting in a corner, you will kill them before they even have the chance to turn around and respond. So why you have to pre-aim? You have to pre-aim so you can have the advantage. Now, you don't obviously want to pre-aim walking across the entire map, of course, right? Because you move a lot slower. If someone's, not where you're aiming at, you're going to die. Or if they're moving too fast, you can't keep up. It's just a lot of things. So you have to pick and choose. Now, you might ask, which gunfights do I choose to pre-aim? Like which entrances or doorways? That's where it kind of comes with trial and error. You really have to figure out spots, especially if you're playing ranked play, that there are these kind of like certified spots that people will always kind of stay because it has, the best line of sight for them and it restricts the line of sight from others to shoot them. So you have to kind of learn those spots. It can be a gamble because, of course, different maps, there are multiple spots. So you could be, it happens all the time. You're pre-aiming in one corner, but then it turns out that the person's not actually in that corner. They're in the other corner. So now you're just shit out of luck because you're aiming the wrong way. So you really have to pick your battles, pick which corners. It's really to trial and error. The more you kind of get into these games, you kind of learn where those spots are and what to do. But pre-aiming is a big, big thing that I think is really important. And it can be, of course, common sense, right? But if I didn't tell someone who was a new player to always, aim and walk, depending on what gun you have, what role you're playing, if you're trying to go for the mid-range kills, it's all about the positioning. And if you're going in to try and run and gun, run that dead silence, try and get into their spawn, or again, you're just trying to look for those close range fights, right? So yeah, the first point, like I said, pre-aiming, it's going to really, really help. It's going to stop you from dying so much, especially when you're playing the ranked respawn games and it takes, 3-4 seconds to respawn back into the game. You need to keep, your life up. You don't want to keep dying, keep having to respawn, die again, because you're just running, you're not aiming, you're just rushing plays. So that's tip number one. So tip number two is going to build off of tip number one. So tip number one was pre-aiming. Tip number two is going to be A, dolphin diving, and B, jumping. So again, this might be a little less self-explanatory or common sense, I guess, in the Call of Duty terms, but again, the movement is limited. There's no, like I said, slide canceling, bunny hopping, really. So it's a lot of running and posting up and holding a line of sight or a corner or a hallway. But there are some lines of sights that it is so, fine. It's a very, slim line of sight. But although it's slim for the players to see you, it's also slim for you to see them. It's slim for them to see you as well. So you can use that to your advantage. Let's say someone's having a nice kind of head glitch, peek in a corner. They can only see when you come out of that room and maybe, a couple meters in front of that, right? So what you always see a lot of pro players do, or good players really, is dive. They're dolphin diving like crazy. Now, dolphin diving can be tricky because if you dolphin dive and there is an enemy in front of you, you can't bring up your gun like in past Call of Duties as quickly. It takes, a second or two for your gun to kind of pull up, so you have to get pretty lucky. So what people will often do is they'll run, dolphin dive, turn as they're dolphin diving, and it will kind of make your frame look a lot smaller, if that makes sense. If you dolphin dive just going forward, right? Let's say someone's peeking a doorway and you want to dive to get to the other side of the doorway so you can find a different angle to approach at. They're going to see, all the way from your head to your toes. Now, let's say you see like Shotzi or some professional player dolphin dive, but they're turning at the same time. They're making their body kind of like a dot in a way. Like it's you can only see their head, right? Like you can only see their head, and then their legs and feet are behind them. So it's a lot harder to hit that shot. So, dolphin diving period is going to give you the advantage of, kind of sneaking on an enemy, or not sneaking, but finding a different angle. So highly recommend dolphin diving. And now we'll go into jumping. Now, jumping, if you're running, you have enough momentum, meaning like, your gun is to the side, so you're running faster, or you have a knife or a pistol out, and you jump, you pull out your gun, and you shoot. Even that's going to help you break that line of sight that they might have held. So what a good play would be is if you're trying to go into a room, let's say you're trying to go on like search and destroy, you're trying to go on a bomb site, and they're in a corner, you just don't know which corner they're in. Luckily we have the equipment, so you would throw a stun in, get a hit marker, maybe throw a nade in there. If they're hurt, then that's when you're thinking, okay, do I jump in? Do I hope for them to push me? What kind of plays can I make here? Now you're thinking, okay, he's hurt, the stun just wore off, should I risk the challenge? Again, TTK is fast, right? They could get lucky and get a nice headshot on you, 2-3 bullets to the head, and you're dead, even if they were one shot, right? So you kind of want a good idea of where they are. So what some players would do, depending on the situation, right? You would dolphin dive to get an angle to see where they are. Once you dolphin dive, like I said, at least in rank play, the the health respawn, like your health bar, kind of takes a couple seconds to build back up. So that's when you would dolphin dive, because after you nade them, they're low, they're hurt, and you see them in that corner, and you're like, okay, I have to come back and attack this corner. And as soon as you dolphin dive, you see where they are, you get back up. Ideally, you jump shot back in, kill them, right? Best case scenario. But even though that play won't always work, it's a lot better than running in, not stunning, not throwing a grenade, or just, trying to guess what corner they're in and just pre-aiming the whole time. And then they could be not in that corner. And another point would probably be the importance of going prone. And that doesn't just mean drop shotting, and I'll tell you why. This is kind of a bonus off of tip number 2, because I still have a tip number 3. But again, you have jumping, dolphin diving, but you also have being prone and kind of shimmying to the side. So, as weird as that sounds, hear me out. So, let's say someone is watching a box, right? They're behind a truck or something. I'll have to pull out a better example, but let's say they're pre-aiming. They know you have to challenge it, and you show on one side of like this long box, and they're already start shooting you. You immediately drop to the floor to cut off their line of sight. Now, what you could do is get back up from where you were exactly, and they're already aiming there, right? Boom, easy headshot, dead. Or you can go prone, take a couple seconds, just move to the side, and now when you pop up, they might have been aiming, on the top right side of the box, and now your head pops up at the top left side of the box. And again, TTK is quick, so you have that opportunity, even that half a second, to start shooting before they do and winning that gunfight. So when I say shimmying, is also going to be grouped with dolphin diving and jump shotting. So 3 important things that kind of go in step 2, and then we'll go into step 3, or tip number 3. So the third and final tip is going to be mantling, or mantling is just another word for climbing onto things. So like I said, it's pretty obvious the movement's a lot different in the Modern Warfare 2, but the one thing that's super, super important is mantling, or climbing up stuff. You always see it in the pro scene. They always find these weird spots where they're, climbing on top of a rock, jumping across to another rock, and finding this really broken head glitch that they can only get shot at from one area, and they're already pre-aiming that area, and then your other teammates are looking for the cut-arounds, so they're always set up really nicely. So it's a lot of mantling. It doesn't have to be, it can be mantling in 2 ways. Of course, one, to get a good setup to where you can hold, the hard point or the bomb site, or it can be to get the sneak attack on someone who's already on the site. Now, let's say like someone's on top of a rock on the dome, or like even in this map that I'm playing right now, someone goes on top of that truck and then jumps to that corner spot, and they have a good line of sight. So you challenging that, right? You only have, a couple spots where, you can see each other, and it's a challenge. But most of the time, like I said, they have higher ground. They're already pre-aiming. You're probably going to lose. So what do? Well, maybe not in this example, because this one is kind of a bad one, because there's a lot more spaces to challenge. But let's say, I forget what that map's called, but where you have that dome and someone's on top of the dome, popping a deadie, or even not popping a deadie. Sometimes they're too focused, or they're aiming somewhere or shooting something else. A lot's going on. They don't even hear your footsteps. But the nice thing is, obviously, you make footsteps from walking or running, but there are no footsteps, really. There's the little grunts and sounds from mantling something, but it's a lot more quiet than running. So, someone's camping up top. You start mantling, you come in a monkey, jumping from wall to wall, brick to brick, rock to rock, and then you end up on top. You now kill them, so that eliminates one player, and now you have that god spot, or that, nice head glitch spot that they had originally. Like I said, they are literally, a lot of them will tunnel vision onto that spot. And after they keep tunnel visioning for so long, you will have that nice kind of sneak where they won't even notice because they're so focused on something, and you can kind of get that surprise on them and set your team in a better position so you guys can, rotate or watch mid-map, call out for crosses, all that important stuff. So mantling's super important. Like I said, it can be done during gunfights, in the middle of gunfights. Maybe you need to reposition to get higher ground or a different angle, or to, set your team up in a position, maybe the hard points rotating and you're trying to get up somewhere. So that dome map that I'm talking about specifically, you kind of, either dive into the water. I mean, that's even using, the terrain. I mean, a lot of pro players or good players will wait in the water, which is super annoying, and be all the way in the back because you're not going to expect them to be there. But, they're with an AR or even the submachine gun, just watching the cross or watching anyone get on the hard point. So those are some good ideas or references to go off of the mantling. Mantling or just using your terrain really is going to help. But like I said, those were pretty much 3 good tips. So we talked about pre-aiming because that's super important, and even pre-firing, which I kind of slipped up earlier and said, but pre-firing is important too, just to help you win that gunfight for sure. Diving, jumping, or waddling, prone, moving side to side. And lastly, mantling and just using your terrain to help you. If you guys enjoy these types of videos, I would say leave a like and comment and definitely subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Peace.